enough that the National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued that tornado warning. So now we're getting an updated scan. And again, this is a messy picture. You could almost make an argument for maybe two separate areas of rotation. You can see one here, another here. And let me just zoom in a little bit closer, give you a little better perspective on what we're looking at with this storm. Here we go. So again, this is radar indicated rotation right now, just northwest of Morganza. So looks like that's Highway 1 as you go north of Morganza. That would be the area of rotation. We're kind of tracking right along Highway 1 as you go north of Morganza in Point Coupee Parish. That's what we're tracking right now. Let's take a look at, we have our debris tracker on radar, and we'll see if we're picking up any debris at this hour. It's one thing we look for when we get a warning like this. Nothing obvious. I would be looking where we saw that rotation, which was in this general area, and we'd be looking for some colors other than the shades of red, some lighter colors. So a little bit of good news there. We're not seeing any obvious signs of any lofted debris at this point, but certainly very heavy rain getting ready to move into Morganza. Let's back this view out just a little bit. Here you can see, how you've got this bit of a notch in here. That's indicative of some of the winds kind of punching in on the front side of the storm, where you get these little notches in the line. That's often where we can end up with potentially tornadic circulations. Let's take a look at the velocity data again and see what we have in terms of actual wind speed. So we'll sample this in a couple of spots. It doesn't look like anything's jumping off the charts right now. Now remember, as you look at this, when we look at the shades of red and green, we're generally looking for those couplets, the red and green next to each other. The red is where the winds are going away from the radar, which is in Hammond. Green is going towards. That's indicative of our circulation. So again, it looks like there could be actually two separate areas of rotation here just northwest of Morganza. So if you're in and around Morganza, get to your safe room in your home. That'd be an interior room away from exterior walls. Often that may be a bathroom or a closet. You want something to cover your head with. Often, at least kids might have a helmet in the house or a bicycle helmet, something like that. But if you don't have a helmet, grab a cushion, a pillow. We just want to have that just in case. And just keep an eye on this until the threat passes. Again, there's nothing confirmed here at this point in time, but enough rotation that the National Weather Service went ahead and issued the warning. Let's back this out and take a look at the big picture and see what we've got going on right now in terms of the storms that are moving into our area. So the most intense right now are extending from northeastern St. Landry across northern Point Coupee, parts of West Feliciana near Angola, and now up into Wilkinson County. We actually still have a severe thunderstorm warning up here in Wilkinson and Amite counties as well. We'll kind of come in closer, take a look at that. I haven't heard of any damage out of these cells, but we have seen some indications at times of some strong winds. So Woodville's right about in here. Liberty is right about in here. Let's see what the expiration time is on that warning, 7:30. So we've only got that one in effect for about another 5 minutes unless the Weather Service continues it. See this little red, yellow cylinder, I should say? That's the radar picking up at least on some circulation. Let's take a look at the velocity data on this and see if anything is standing out in terms of wind speeds or circulations. Nothing really jumping out. We're certainly, it looks like, seeing some stronger winds here in western Wilkinson County. Let me sample some of those for you and give you some numbers so you can see radar is sampling some winds over 50 miles per hour. Now, keep in mind, the radar that is sampling this is in Hammond, so those wind speeds are being detected several thousand feet above ground level. Doesn't mean the wind is blowing 50+ miles per hour at the ground, although it's possible that some of that is translating down. So definitely, if you're in Wilkinson or Amite counties, go watch this closely as we watch these storms rolling on through. All right, let's move you back down to Point Coupee and our tornado warning that we have in effect for that cell that is nearing Morganza at this hour. We'll bring it back in and take another look. Doesn't look like anything that's just jumping off the charts in terms of real active or strong rotation. Take another look at it. So hints of some rotation here on the west side of Morganza, but right now I'm not seeing anything that to me looks terribly strong, so good news. Switch over to the debris detector again, not seeing any debris detection or debris signature showing up, so at least some good news on that front. Very heavy rain at minimum is going to be moving in as these storms roll into the area, and you can see, well, that's kind of telling us how strong the reflectivity is, how strong the return is of the radar signal. But we can take a look at the rain rates on these and give you an idea. And so you can see here we get into the shades of pink, especially. We're talking about some very heavy rainfall in the order of 5 or more inches per hour. Doesn't mean you're going to get 5 inches of rain, just means instantaneously it's raining at that rate if it were to continue for an hour, but fortunately shouldn't rain at that rate for an entire hour in most areas. All right, let's switch it back to our traditional radar view and take a look at what's happening. There you see it, some heavy stuff moving on in. We'll back this out. Henry, what was the forward motion on this again? 30 miles per hour. Excuse me. All right, at about 30 miles per hour. So what I'm going to do, we're going to draw a storm track on this one and give you an idea of where that storm might be headed next. All right, so Morganza here within the next couple of minutes, obviously, but if it holds together, that cell could pass close to or just south of New Roads, so generally moving towards False River. It's got in and around New Roads around 7:45, so we'll certainly continue to watch that as it moves to the southeast. But again, at least in recent scans, I'm not seeing anything that's just jumping out as a real obvious signature of any significant rotation showing up, although the Weather Service does have that warning in effect. So this whole line here is going to be moving through the area over the next couple of hours. We also have a tornado watch that's in effect. We'll give you a look at that. The tornado watch is in effect area-wide here. That runs through 2 a.m. That one's going to be in effect for all of us through 2 a.m. May get trimmed back eventually from west to east as the storms progress. So remember the difference between a watch and a warning. Tornado watch means that tornadoes and severe weather are possible. It's your heads up. When a tornado warning is issued, either one has been spotted or one is imminent. We think one could occur at any time. And so the tornado warning we have right now in Point Coupee and a little sliver of West Louisiana, although this storm is really in Point Coupee, that one is because we've seen some radar rotation, but nothing confirmed at this point. Henry, anything in the National Weather Service chat about it?
Nothing so far.
Okay, good news there. So no news is typically good news with these sorts of things. I was asking Henry to check in on our National Weather Service chat, our direct line of communication with our friends at the Weather Service. Sounds like no new updates, which is generally good news. All right, so let's get back to the radar and take another look at what's happening right now. And if we don't see anything significant here, they send you back to programming until we see something change. I don't know why this is giving me some trouble here. Let's see if Henry get that fixed real quick. Hang on, Henry. So again, tornado watch is in effect until 2 a.m. and we're tracking this warning that's in effect as well. Let's see if this will switch back to radar for me now. Here we go. Should have it for you. There you go. All right, we've got radar. So here's our storm that we're tracking. Well, we're going to zoom in for you. And so heavy rain has certainly made it into Morganza, likely some gusty winds. As we look at the velocity data on this, I'm not seeing anything that looks super strong in terms of rotation. Maybe a little something there on the north side of Morganza, but that looks relatively weak at this point in time. So some good news. And then we take you up into southwest Mississippi. We have a severe thunderstorm warning that's going to expire here shortly. It looks like they have extended one now off to the east for Amite and Pike counties. A little sliver of parts of St. Helena, northern Tangipahoa, and that. So that warning now in effect through 8:15. And what we see here, this looks like largely some strong straight line winds that are moving right now across Wilkinson, Amite counties. That'll be moving eastward. So Liberty, Centerville, Macomb, down towards Osika, maybe as far south as Kentwood. Watch out. You could have some strong winds moving in with that. And then we've got our eyes on this tornado warning that right now is in effect just north of Morganza. All right, so let me come back on camera here. So, folks, we're going to continue to track this evening. We do have that tornado warning. It remains in effect for about another 15 minutes. So, given I'm not seeing there, it looks like they've updated the polygon a little bit. You can kind of see where that is. Shifted it, just kind of trimmed the southern and western edge back a little bit. So that's going to be crossing the Mississippi River here shortly, near just north of Morganza. That storm is headed in the direction of New Roads. So we're going to watch it closely. And now let's take one more look before we let you go. Given what I'm seeing right now, not terribly worried about the rotation. Henry, you going to flip that over to velocity for me? And we'll see what we've got. So again, that doesn't look like terribly strong rotation to me. Not seeing anything that jumps out at this point. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and send you back to programming for now. Henry and I are tracking this closely. If we see the need to break back in, we'll certainly do that. Or if more tornado warnings come out, we will break back in as well. So we're tracking it for you tonight near north of Morganza, down towards New Roads. Please stay alert in case this storm does cycle and strengthen. Right now, we have a warning. Doesn't look like the circulation is terribly strong, but we'll keep you updated. But for now, send you back to programming. Good evening, everyone. 2 more tornado warnings have now been issued. I know you're trying to watch Survivor tonight. We will try to be brief. We have a public safety obligation as well. So we've got a number of warnings. Here's one tornado warning in parts of Amite and Pike counties in effect until 8:15. And we've got another warning that's now come out for Point Coupee Parish that's closer to New Roads. That one also in effect through 8:15. So let me zoom in and give you a look at both of these right now. First, we'll kind of head down towards Point Coupee and this new warning that has come out. So to give you a look at what we're talking about, there's New Roads right there. It's the storm that was passing through Morganza. We'll switch it over to the velocity view and take a look at the latest with that. And here we go. It still looks like to me somewhat broad rotation, but the Weather Service is seeing these surges at the leading edge that can sometimes precede the rotation tightening up and becoming something more significant. It's tricky. They have to issue these warnings to be safe. But let me zoom in just a little bit closer just to make sure we're not missing anything on this. Let's see, because I see a little bit of green and red. But yeah, that doesn't look like necessarily real strong rotation to me at this point. We'll take a look at one more product on that just to kind of be sure about it. But yeah, not seeing anything terribly bad there. Let's take a look at our debris detection, and we're just going to back it out a little bit for a little better view. And nothing obvious showing up there. So that's good news. But New Roads, False River, stay on your guard because this thing could tighten up and produce a tornado at any point in time. That's why the Weather Service has gone ahead and issued that warning. Now let me give you a look at the one that we're tracking up into southwest Mississippi. That one is also in effect through 8:15 for parts of Amite and Pike counties. That storm is west of Macomb and northeast of Liberty. So we're going to zoom in on this. This one has actually looked a bit more impressive to me in more recent scans. So again, Liberty, you are outside of the warning polygon, but Magnolia, Macomb, you are included, and then some more rural areas of Amite County as well. Let's take a look at the velocity data on this one, and you can see at minimum we are getting some strong winds out of this. There's the leading edge right now. That's just off to the northeast of Liberty, so that's all moving eastward. Henry, do we have a forward motion on that? Henry's 35. All right. Yeah. So Henry's checking on us so I can put a little storm track on for you. So it's moving east at about 35. So if that holds together, it's into Magnolia a little bit after 8 o'clock. So again, definitely want to track that one closely. If you are in the area of Magnolia or anywhere in eastern Amite County within that polygon, make sure you seek shelter just to be safe in case this thing does produce something. We're certainly seeing some strong winds. Doesn't look like extremely tight rotation at this point, but strong winds. Those greens are moving toward the radar in Hammond, so some strong winds surging out at the leading edge. All right, let me back this out. We'll take one more look, and we're going to let you get back to your program. I'm keeping a close eye, and we're going to break in as needed. But line of strong storms now is just northwest of Baton Rouge, extending up towards Macomb. And before I let you go, I want to take one more look here in Point Coupee Parish at our other tornado warning to make sure we don't have anything that looks worse than what it did before. All right, so that storm is right on top of New Roads at this hour. And here's the velocity data. Still looks similar. We've got signs of some stronger wind showing up there. What I'm going to do is punch over to our camera in New Roads real quick to take a look at it. Obviously, it's really dark in that view. We've been seeing some flashes of lightning. Not seeing the camera bounce around. That's some good news. So we'll continue to track it. All right, so to recap here and allow those of you that are watching Survivor back to your program, we are tracking this closely. We've got a pair of tornado warnings through 8:15, so nearly another 30 minutes. This one that's in Point Coupee, kind of centered near False River, and then this warning parts of Amite and Pike counties right now. That's just northeast of Liberty, does include Macomb. And you can see here, this leading edge, those winds are kind of bowing out, and so we think at minimum some strong winds moving across northern Amite County, headed towards, say, the northern half of Pike County as well. And of course, a tornado watch remains in effect through 2 a.m. as this line moves eastward. We're tracking it closely. We'll break back in if necessary. But now we send you back to programming. Good evening, everyone. Tracking strong to severe storms moving through the area tonight. We do have some warnings to tell you about. So far locally, it seems like most of these storms have been pretty well behaved. I've yet to hear of any damage from the warnings that we've had locally, but that doesn't mean that nothing's happened or that we're in the clear by any stretch of the imagination. Here's the big picture right now. The warnings are on either side of the state line at this hour. We'll zoom in a second, but if you can make out the orange polygons, there are a pair of severe thunderstorm warnings, and we do have tornado warnings kind of centered near Macomb, Mississippi at this hour. But let's kind of zoom in first on this severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for the Felicianas, a little bit of St. Helena. This cell, this line right now, moving right through Clinton at this hour, could very well be producing some strong, if not damaging winds. In fact, we'll take a look at the wind velocity and see what we're detecting. So here's a look at the winds right now. All those brighter greens are indicative of some strong winds. The other thing you'll note, you see how there's a little bit of a notch here on the east side of Clinton. We have to pay attention to those notches because that's where sometimes rotation can develop in short notice. So what I'm going to do here is sample some of these wind speeds, see what the radar is detecting. And so you can see we're detecting some winds of better than 50 miles per hour. The radar is not too far away here in Hammond, looking up to the northwest, probably a few thousand feet above ground level. So strong winds moving through parts of East Feliciana, southern parts of Amid County at this hour. That's all moving eastward. So St. Helena Parish, watch out. All that's going to be headed your way. Definitely some strong winds. That's a severe thunderstorm warning. And let me take a look at the expiration time. That's in effect through 8:15. So that's in effect for about another 15 minutes for east and a little bit of West Feliciana, although it looks like the worst is out of West Feliciana. Technically northern EBR as well, although it looks like the strongest winds mostly stand out of EBR. And then a little bit of southeastern Wilkinson County and extreme southern Amid County under that warning. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to take a look at some of the storms that are up in Mississippi that we are tracking as well. So here's our next severe thunderstorm warning. That one also in effect through 8:15, eastern half of Amid County, just about all of Pike County, and a little sliver of St. Helena Parish, northern Tangipahoa as well. But you can see within that orange, we've got these red polygons. Those are tornado warnings kind of centered on Macomb. So let's zoom in a little bit closer there. And again, when you see these notches that are showing up, those notches along the leading edge are often trouble spots where we get some rotation developing and potentially tornadic circulation. So that's why the Weather Service has gone ahead and issued this tornado warning. So we'll give you a look at the expiration times. So the first one down here near and south of Macomb, that goes through 8:15. And then the newer one that they put in effect a few minutes ago to kind of extend it to the east, that runs through 9 o'clock. So that's Macomb, Summit, eastward over until Walthall County, Mississippi. Right now, it looks like the strongest winds have moved just on the east side of Macomb, but potentially a couple little notches in areas of rotation here east of Macomb and east of Summit. Those would be areas to certainly keep a close eye on. We also have a tornado watch that remains in effect for all of our viewing area through 2 a.m. I want to bring this, expand this view back out, switch back to the traditional radar view, give you a look at what's happening right now. Now, fortunately for those in Metro Baton Rouge area to the south and west, the heaviest has been staying a little bit north of the capital region thus far, but we still have the trailing edge of this extending back towards Lafayette. And we also keep a close eye on cells like this one that is just west of near Plaquemine at this hour, moving up towards Addis and Bruley. Those individual storm cells ahead of the main line can also sometimes develop a rotation pretty quickly, so we'll keep an eye on that. And even though, excuse me, I've been dealing with the allergies, even though we have no warnings here in the metro area, we do have some heavy rain right now from near the 10-12 split right across where airline crosses Florida, where the Amazon facility now exists, eastward on Florida as you head out towards Denham Springs, northward up the Central Thruway up to Central. That's going to be moving into Shenandoah, the city of St. George. You'll get some downpours as well, but that's not looking terribly strong at this point in time. But you can see the cell around Plaquemine that does look a bit heavier, extending down to Bayou Sorrel. Let's take a look at the wind velocity on that, make sure there's nothing suspicious. And good news is, doesn't look like it. I'm not seeing any signs of rotation, and those winds don't look terribly strong. We can sample it just to get an idea. As we look on the west side of Plaquemine, picking up some wind speeds on the order of 30 to 40 miles per hour, and some stronger stuff showing up near Bayou Sorrel. That's up above the ground surface. Keep in mind, the radar beam goes out. It doesn't go out directly horizontal. It leaves at a slight tilt. On top of that, the earth is curved, so the farther you get from the radar, the higher the radar beam gets. And the question becomes, will we have those strong winds that we're detecting aloft? Is any of that being pulled down to the surface, translating down? The heavy rain itself can sometimes take the momentum and transfer that down to the ground. So we're certainly seeing some gusty winds showing up, but non-severe. Keep in mind, what qualifies as a severe thunderstorm is winds of at least 58 miles per hour. If you say why 58, it's 50 knots. 50 knots equals 58 miles per hour, and that's when wind engineers did some research and discovered that's where you tend to get in a little more the way of significant wind damage. We do have some heavy stuff moving through Baker and especially Zachary right now up towards Slaughter. Let me take a look at the wind velocities on this, make sure there's nothing happening. Doesn't look too bad there, but you can see the strong winds right now up near Pride. We'll sample, you see this area, brighter green, Pride going northward. That is showing some pretty strong wind. Now, that area is included in our severe thunderstorm warning. There you see it sampling winds about 60 miles per hour, very near Pride at this hour. So certainly in those areas, watch out. Damaging winds are possible. And since we continue to see these little notches developing on the leading edge of the line, those can sometimes pretty quickly turn into circulations and tornadic circulations. So that's something to keep an eye on. But right now, our only tornado warnings are in southwest Mississippi, and really that threat is starting to shift outside of what is really our viewing area. It's kind of east of Macomb and Pike County, headed towards Walthall County. So right now, that's where the greatest threat appears to lie. All right, let's switch back to the traditional radar view. And you see where the heaviest is concentrated right now. So especially East Feliciana, just kind of right on top of you, northern part of EBR, beginning to exit West Feliciana, and then the southern half of Amite County. That's some of the heaviest activity right now. Certainly some heavy rain on the east side of Baton Rouge and approaching downtown Baton Rouge from the south. That cluster that's been moving through Plaquemine, that looks pretty heavy. I'm going to keep an eye on this because it does have a little appendage to it. So that can sometimes be a precursor to rotation developing. Again, we looked at the velocity not long ago, weren't seeing anything, but that shape on radar can be an early heads up of something developing. And then you see this broken line that extends back towards Lafayette. Let me change the radar from Hammond to Lake Charles, just to give you an idea of what's out to our west still. And you can see really once you get west of Lafayette, the rain intensity really begins to drop off pretty quickly. So the next couple of hours, that should be about the worst of it in most areas, and by about 10:30, 11 o'clock tonight, we're probably starting to sound the all clear here locally. All right, checking in with our colleagues at the Weather Service just to see if there's anything new showing up. Doesn't look like there's anything terribly new. Let's see. Yeah, nothing from them, so no news is generally good news. I can tell you we have seen several reports of damage from earlier out of central and southwest Louisiana. There was a, what we believe, confirmed tornado, Cheneyville, which is a little bit southwest of Marksville. The police department reported seeing one on the ground. That was just after 5:30 this evening. And I did look at the radar data at that point in time, and you could see strong rotation, and it looked like we did, at least for a couple of radar scans, see a debris signature as well, indicating, kind of verifying that report in another way. I'm looking in the chat room for the National Weather Service in Lake Charles, and I am seeing some pictures of damage out of Cheneyville as well. Some signs blown over, trampoline flip, looks like a tree down, so certainly some wind damage up there. And we may not know the full extent of the damage till tomorrow, given that they've been dealing with rain tonight and may have to wait for daylight and things to clear out to get a full picture of the damage. We also had some damage in Church Point with a tree knocked down, so that's why I've been keeping a close eye on these storms here locally. All right, let's see what we've got. Yeah, so the severe thunderstorm, just mentioned the severe thunderstorm warning continues here, the Weather Service. Let's go back to radar and take a look at it. Switch back to our radar in Hammond so we get a better view. And the Weather Service putting out a statement that basically they're continuing this severe thunderstorm warning. So the one that covers much of East Feliciana, a little bit of West St. Helena, watch out, that's headed your way. And some of the strong storms extending down into northern EBR. Let me read their statement really quick. But again, we have certainly seen, and I'll show you in a second, we've seen some strong winds at the leading edge of that. All right, let's see. There's a few statements all in once here. Here's the one I'm looking for. Sorry, bear with me. Storms moving east at 25 and basically indicating that some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are possible. Gary Shuford in the West Feliciana Office of Emergency Management reporting did have a gust of 38 miles per hour, but maybe more noteworthy, says numerous power outages around the parish. So we are certainly, getting some evidence of strong winds. Let me see. I think we let's look at our power outage map. So you can see now power outages are starting to show up along the path of these storms, extending from western Louisiana along and north of I-10, I-12. That's where the greatest focus has been. So again, that was West Feliciana where he was reporting some outages, but certainly seeing a decent number here in EBR as well. Let me take a look at what we've got. Hopefully you all have power tonight, but certainly there are some areas without it right now. So I'm going to pull up I'm taking a look at the Entergy numbers first, which is the biggest provider here in EBR and some of the surrounding parishes. Clicked on the wrong. Give me 1 second. Let's see, outages by parish. All right, so in East Baton Rouge, about 1,500 customers without power. A reminder, we occasionally talk about this. Power outages, they say customers and not people, because a customer, for instance, represents a home. My home has 4 people that reside in it, right? So when you hear the number of customers, keep in mind the number of people impacted is, a good bit larger than that. A customer represents a building, a house, whatever it may be. So we got 1,500 out in EBR. Looks like just over 600 in East Feliciana. And let's see, West Feliciana over 400. Tangipahoa over 300, St. Landry over 500, Point Capee over 600. Okay. All right, so thank you to Henry. Henry's telling me to take a look at the chat room for the National Weather Service. They're just relaying that reports of some damage in Amite County, Mississippi, northeast Amite County from a possible tornado near Thompson Road and Highway 570. So let me come back to my graphics here. Oh, and Henry's pointing out, looks like we may have some new tornado warnings coming for EBR and East Feliciana.
Yeah, it's up there now.
Oh, okay, and here we are. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got here. Here's our new tornado warning that the Weather Service just put out. Click on that. So that's, I know it's a little bit hard for you to see. Let me get some of this out of the way. That warning's in effect through 9 p.m. So that tornado warning kind of includes parts of East Feliciana, St. Helena, looks like northern Livingston in that as well, and then extreme northeastern EBR. You guys talking to me in the back, we will switch over in just a second. All right, so here's the area. You can see this notch in here, some strong winds showing up. So this is now east of Pride. That's north of Highway 16 as you get into northern Livingston, into St. Helena Parish. So that would be just, I guess, a little bit north of Pine Grove. That's southwest of Greensburg. Let me sample some of these winds. Yeah, and so you can see the radar picking up at least some 65. I may even miss this. Yeah, there you see. It's picking up some winds of over 70 miles per hour. Again, it's a little bit above the surface, but when we see numbers like that, there's a decent chance some of that's reaching the ground. There's some other pixels showing some pretty heavy, some pretty strong winds a little bit farther south. Let me get a sampling on that. That also coming in close to 70 miles per hour. So there are a couple of potential separate areas of rotation. One that's right along Highway 16 now as you get into St. Helena Parish, west of Montpelier. And then let me see what, if we zoom in a little more, if we can get what roads we're looking at here. All right, so where we're seeing the second area of rotation, this is where near the intersection of Highway 63 and 37. And this is north of Highway 16. So this is basically an extension of Greenwell Springs Road coming out of EBR, becoming 37 as you head into St. Helena, north of Highway 16. All right, so that's the other area that we are tracking right now. All right, for those watching on the live stream, bear with me. We are going to, I'm going to go do a quick update on our main station with this new warning, and we will continue our coverage. So hang tight if you're watching on the stream, and the coverage will continue. Sorry, two mics here I'm juggling. I may have just made that sound. Really starting to move into parts of St. Helena Parish. That's the main area. It's really been a couple of areas of rotation, and we're also seeing some very strong winds outside of the tornado warning itself. Let me zoom in a little bit closer to give you an idea of where we're tracking these areas of rotation, though. So this appears to me to be the strongest. I know you probably can't read that, but that's Highway 16 in St. Helena Parish. So it's moving right along Highway 16, and as we've been been looking at the wind speeds on this. We've been seeing some pretty strong numbers. So you can see radar detecting winds near 70 miles per hour at this hour as that moves off to the east. Henry, do we have a forward speed on that storm? So this one's kind of off to the southwest of Greensburg, headed in the general direction of Montpelier. East at 40. So let me put a track on this for you and give you an idea of where this will be headed next. So moving off to the east at 40 with that track that has it near Montpelier. It's going to be close if it holds together. There's Montpelier around 8:30. So in about another 10, 11, 12 minutes. Roseland, if it were to hold together, around 8:45. Amite as well. Amite's a little bit farther north. Independence, keep an eye out. That's roughly around 8:45 as well. So we definitely need to keep a close eye on this. This is radar indicated rotation, but when you get these notches like this, that can certainly be a sign of something. Henry was telling me as well that we have gotten at least some reports of wind damage. It sounds like in Baker and Zachary in that area. We're starting to see an increasing number of power outages around the area. I'm also tracking, you can see here some very strong winds showing up west of Greensburg, or very close to Greensburg. So let me sample those numbers. And there you see it, radar detecting winds over 70 miles per hour. This area also looks like something to watch closely. Let's zoom in north of Greensburg and give you a look at that. And here's another area of strong winds. So that's Highway 43, 440 right here. And let me get a measurement on those winds, give you a look at what we're tracking right now. Woof. Yeah, so detecting winds here that are topping 80 miles per hour. Now again, that's a little bit above the surface, but that's as you go just north of Greensburg, radar detecting winds topping 80 miles per hour. You've got the second area where winds are being detected over 70 miles per hour. So even if we're not getting tornadoes out of this stuff, very strong winds right now, especially moving through parts of St. Helena Parish and then on down the road. Again, you know, areas Independence, Tangipahoa, Kentwood, watch out. You could be under the gun for some of those strong winds if they hold together. Montpelier as well, certainly in play for this one. All right, let's zoom out a little more. And here's our tornado warning where we've got that notch showing up. Let me take another look at that for the latest and see what we've got with this one. So again, when you get these notches, that's an indication of some rotation. So you can see Montpelier. This one appears to be headed right in your direction, right along 16, headed in from the west. So you need to be tracking this closely. Let's take a look at our debris detection, make sure nothing's showing up in terms of a potential tornado with that. So here's our debris detection. Good news, we don't see anything. So what we look for when we look at this product, I'm going to switch back to our velocity. Focus your eyes, right? In fact, let me do this. Let me circle it for you. So I'm going to circle this area. This is where we're seeing some radar detected rotation. There's our velocity. Now, as we switch this over to debris, if I were seeing some of these shades of blue up here, I'd be worried about the radar detecting debris. Red is good. In essence, what the radar is saying is, I'm detecting objects that are similar in size and shape, otherwise, i.e. raindrops. If it were detecting debris, which is all sorts of different sizes and shapes, then we get a number that drops and the shades start to drop into colors of yellow and blue, indicating that could be debris that's been lofted. So at least that is a little bit of good news, but we're certainly seeing pretty significant notch and some strong winds there right along 16 as you get just west of Montpelier. Let me back this out just a little bit and I'll put it in motion for you. Okay, and Henry's telling me a new tornado warning north. I'll give you a look at this real quick. So watch there, and we'll bring this back in so you can have a good look for those of you that are in and around Montpelier, what we're dealing with. Watch this area right there. So as you watch that moving, it's almost headed right on down 16. Maybe it moves on the south side of Montpelier, but it's going to be close. So that's definitely an area of concern. Let me back out, take a look at the new tornado warning. So it was one of those, that other area that I was talking about. And again, here we go with the notch. So let's zoom in on this one and see what we've got in terms of winds. There you see that notch showing up. Let me read the roads. That's between Highway 43 and 441. And as we sample the wind speeds, I can tell you those bright shades of green, those are some strong winds. And yeah, again, we're getting some numbers up near 80 miles per hour. There you see it, 82 being detected. So at minimum right now, damaging winds, it would appear, about to cross Highway 441 here in St. Helena Parish, and that's just on the south side of Highway 440. So near the intersection of 441 and 440. Let me turn this off so I can zoom back out for you, and we'll take some of this off as well. But that's just south of 441 and 440. And yeah, we're definitely getting some rotation. Henry, do you have a full... All right, radar, so he's saying radar confirmed tornado here. So let's take a look. So again, focus your eyes right in here. This is where we're seeing the rotation. Let's switch over to our debris detection. And yeah, you see where you're getting this drop, and this now blinking polygon is indication of the radar confirmation. So let's give you a look. So this would likely be where we've got some radar detected debris now, right along Highway 441 in St. Helena Parish. Let me move the map over just a little bit. So that's going to be moving eastward here, right along 440. That's where our circulation is. And I can switch this back to a velocity mode so we can see a little bit better. But yeah, here's our area rotation. I'll back this out just a little bit as well. So right here, so anybody that's in this general area in St. Helena Parish, you need to be taking shelter right now. Get to an interior room away from exterior walls. If you happen to be in a two-story building, we always want to be on the lowest story, lowest floor, whatever building we're in. Want to get away from windows. Often a bathroom, a closet may be your best place to go. Something to cover and protect your head. A helmet's great if you have a bicycle helmet, football helmet. A lot of you probably don't, so a pillow or a cushion. But this appears to be a dangerous storm right now that's moving, crossing Highway 441, moving right along 440 here in St. Helena Parish. Radar confirmation of a tornado at this hour. So let's take a look at that debris signature once again and see how it's looking at this point in time. Give you a look at the latest. But we are getting some very strong winds out of that for sure. I'm not sure why this isn't cooperating all of a sudden. There we go. So we'll give you a look at the debris detection. And again, this is likely, it looks like we haven't quite gotten a new scan just yet, but right there at the intersection of 440 and 441, that's where we're seeing some radar detected debris. So never like to see that. So folks, we've got a radar confirmed tornado. That's northeast of Greensburg at this hour. That one headed off. Do we have a forward motion on this one, Henry? Tell me again.
This one is moving southeast at 40.
Southeast at 4. Oop, there's our updated scan. So it looks like in this general area. And let's put a track on it. I'm kind of running out of space. But that one will be passing just off to the south of Tangipahoa. Let's move the map a little bit, and maybe if I back this out, we can get a little better view on where it'll be headed next. All right, so I'm going to draw this again at 40 miles per hour, give you a look at who's going to be impacted by this one. So moving southeast at 40. There you go. So Roseland, it's going to be very close to you, and we'll zoom in. May pass a little bit north, but you certainly need to be watching closely if you're in and around Roseland, the community of Tangipahoa, and then it's going to be a little bit south of Kentwood, but it's this general area moving out of St. Helena into northern Tangipahoa that you should be taking shelter. So that's going to be crossing I-55 south of Kentwood, where we have this radar detected debris at this hour. So radar confirmed tornado. Henry, anything new from the Weather Service on that?
Nothing more. They're still tracking that hook that we have north of Greensburg.
Okay. So Henry says nothing new from the Weather Service at this point in time. Let me see what we've got on the wind speeds in some of these latest scans. So we're still detecting winds near 80 miles per hour. Let me sample them closer to Greensburg. So 75 to 80 mile per hour winds being detected there. So dangerous situation right now unfolding in eastern parts of St. Helena Parish. Confirmed tornado that is headed into Tangipahoa Parish. That's I-55 right here. That's just north of Roseland, south of Kentwood, which is off our map right now. Let's back this out and take a look at what else we've got in the area. So we're tracking this. Here's our other notch that we've been tracking. This one is not, I don't think we've gotten any confirmation here, right, Henry? This is not a radar confirmed tornado, but certainly looks like we've got some rotation here as well, just southwest of Montpelier. Also some very strong winds showing up with this. So let's sample the winds, give you an idea of what we're detecting. So again, we're getting some winds of 70 plus miles per hour. Let me take that label off and I'll put it in motion so those of you in and around Montpelier can get an idea of maybe where it's headed. So we'll watch this as it moves on in. Here it comes. Looks like it's kind of moving east-southeast. So it looks like that area of rotation is going to pass on the south side of Montpelier. Let me stop this, and what we'll do is zoom in just a little bit more for you, give you an idea of where this is going to be headed. All right, so here's our area. Looks like that's LA 1036. Trying to read that. Caveham Lane out there as well, and then this is LA 441. So in that general area, you can see right now several roads here. Right now it's crossing LA 1036 in St. Helena, southwest of Montpelier. It's going to be crossing Caveham Lane here shortly. And again, as we sample some of these wind speeds, even if this is not a tornado, we're detecting 70 plus mile per hour winds. All right, let's back this out. Anything else new rolling in, Henry, at this point?
It's just that one circulation in that one, let's see.
This appears
that one circulation, the near Montpelier, is tightening up.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was about to say. Unfortunately, that circulation, if anything, looks a little bit healthier than it did a scan or two ago. So we're talking just east of Greensburg. Here it is, right in here. That's the area where we're seeing some tight rotation. That's going to be moving into Tangipahoa Parish, crossing I-55 on the south side of the community of Tangipahoa, and it'll pass very close, maybe just north of Roseland. I'll put this one in motion for you as well, give you an idea of where it's headed. So watch it rolling in right here. So that's going to take it, it looks like, right in between Roseland and Tangipahoa. So if you're in this area or know anybody that lives in that area, get to your shelter now. Dangerous situation. Let me take a look at the debris and see if we're still seeing a debris signature on this one as well, because it certainly looks like the rotation is still very healthy at this point in time. So here's our debris, and yeah, it looks like this would probably be, let me circle this and toggle between the two products. So especially where you're getting the shades of like the blue and the yellow. So that's our debris detection. We'll switch to velocity. Oh, come on. Yep, same area. So that is where, watch this again, where we have circled. That's where we've got some debris, it looks like, showing up. So right on the south side of the community of Tangipahoa, that one dropping to the southeast. So we do have radar confirmed tornado that's been moving across St. Helena Parish, as you can see, east of Greensburg. That is now about to head into Tangipahoa Parish. All right, let's kind of reset here and go back to our traditional radar, give you a look at the big picture. So you can see the most active stuff has been right here along and north of I-12 into southwest Mississippi. Cells along and south of I-10 have been much less intense. Baton Rouge right now is kind of sitting right on the edge of some of that heavy stuff. We'll come in closer to the capital city for those of you watching from here, and we certainly have some very heavy rain right now on the east side of the city from central across the 10-12 split. Downtown, we've been hearing it on the roof. South along Nicholson, the LSU campus, just crossing the river there as well and headed out into the city of St. George. And we'll just take a look to make sure we're not seeing anything strong in terms of winds here. No warnings out for the capital city, and it doesn't look like anything that's terribly strong. Although, let's get a look at some of these numbers here as you get near and east of Plaquemine. We are detecting some 50+ mile-per-hour winds. That's a few thousand feet above the Earth's surface, so it's not necessarily making it to the ground, but crossing the river, Plaquemine over to St. Gabriel and the south side of Baton Rouge, could be seeing some strong winds there as well. But boy, look at these circulations up to our northwest. This one now looks like it is intensifying as well. So you see the purple polygon, that's our radar confirmed tornado that is now just east of Greensburg. Here's the other tornado warning, not radar confirmed at this point, but that also looks like, well, now the new scan comes in, doesn't look quite as bad, so maybe a little bit of good news there. But crossing Highway 43, it's just east of 441, crossing 43, your Horseshoe Road in St. Helena Parish. That's Highway 40 west as well, and then you can see how Highway 40 takes you, that's right, I-55 here. Let me take you north to the other circulation, though, that we're tracking. Bear with me, we're almost there. This one has been quite intense. So here it is now, crossing I-55. Let me back this out just a little bit. This one's crossing I-55 in Tangipahoa Parish. That's been our radar confirmed tornado. We'll zoom in closely now that we've got the big picture view. So that's right along Highway 10 near its intersection with I-55. Very strong winds here as well between Highway 10 and 1048. As we give you a look at some of the wind speed readings, yeah, still looking at winds approaching 80 miles per hour. Still have a bit of a notch showing up here. Let's take a look at the debris again and see, take that label off, and we'll take a look at the debris again and see if we're still seeing something in terms of radar detected debris. Maybe a fading signature there, so that might be a little bit of good news. Maybe it's temporarily lifted, but you've got a strong signal, it looks like, up here near the town of Tangipahoa. Some of that potentially being pulled northeast by the prevailing upper level winds that are blowing kind of southwest to northeast. Let me just zoom in to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. All right, so we've been tracking this area. That looks to be a debris signature. Take a look at our velocity again so we can make sure those overlap. So in this area, the circulation, and we'll back it out a little bit, but that circulation that's been moving near Tangipahoa has kind of been down in here, and the debris signature, if you look at it, looks like it goes to the northeast. That could potentially be a sign of a tornado lofting that debris, and then the upper level winds from the southwest kind of carrying some of that up to the northeast. That's maybe why you see kind of this linear path of blue, but man, if that's debris, that looks like a good bit of it that's being detected by the radar. Not a good sign there. So in and around the community of Tangipahoa, hopefully you're in your shelter at this point as that one continues to drop to the southeast. Put a track on it just to see if we hit anything here as we go off to the southeast. Mostly rural areas in Tangipahoa Parish, but there are some smaller communities I know east of I-55. So if you're east of I-55 and east of or southeast of Tangipahoa, watch out, because that storm moving in your way could be dangerous as well. All right, let's back it out. Anything new from the Weather Service, Henry?
Nothing more than they're still monitoring that likely tornado near Montpelier. They're a pretty good indication near Fluker.
Okay, so still watching this one, the one that we've had radar confirmation on, and then we've still got another cell just south of it that is potentially tornadic as well. And you can see this intense line that extends now near the town of Livingston, back through Walker, Denham Springs, into Baton Rouge at this hour. Rain's really coming down, but we don't quite see. Let's just take a look at the big picture on the velocity, but we haven't quite seen the same velocity signatures farther south in the line that we've been seeing up to the north. I just want to take a look. Yeah, we don't really see much showing up down here. That's a little bit of good news, but we definitely have a lot going on up here.
Answering Facebook Lives, we've got the power out in parts of Zachary, and viewers are reporting strong winds in the Zachary area at the moment.
Yeah, so power out in Zachary, strong winds up that way. I was doing a live update on our live stream before we came on air, for those of you watching on air. And we were talking about some of those storms moving through the Baker-Zachary area. But you can see right now, looks like circulation that is just north of Roseland, still seeing very intense winds. So Roseland, even if you miss out potentially on the tornadic circulation itself, there's some very strong winds showing up at this hour that are going to impact those of you in and around Roseland. And you can see now a lot of that beginning to shift a little bit. We're crossing Highway 10 here in Tangipahoa Parish, gradually moving off to the east. But you can see, this little strip of red. So as a reminder, when we look at radar velocities, wind speeds like this, in essence, red is away from the radar, green's going towards. So you can literally see the inflow into the circulation. That's all air that's being drawn in, and then the green is the wind that's going towards the radar. And so when you get the red and green like this and not showing up, certainly a strong indication of potentially some significant rotation happening right now. All right, let me take a look up in southwest Mississippi. Looks like most of you guys are doing okay. So it is this rotation primarily right now, the one in Tangipahoa Parish near Roseland. That appears to be our main threat.
And that look is kind of tight in North Albany also.
All right, so Henry's saying that mentioned the rotation north to Albany is tightened as well, so I'll go to that in a second. Here's Roseland, here's Highway 51. Looks like Arcola Road, that's where some of the strongest winds are right now, and our circulation right in here, okay? So that's the area most likely being impacted potentially by a tornado if there's still one in place. Strong rotation showing up. All right, let's go see what we've got north of Albany. I assume, yeah, we must be talking about this one, Henry. All right, so yeah, you can see we're starting to get more inflow here as well. I'll zoom in closer, give you a look at roads. You know, some of this is in somewhat rural locations. All right, I'm gonna have to walk to the computer and look at some of these labels. They're pretty small, but let me see if I can make them out on the screen. All right, so Highway 43, Elbert Stewart Road, and Horseshoe Road.
And Turkey Creek Road.
And Turkey Creek Road, all that general area there, that's where we're seeing rotation. Let me move this just a little bit. And you can see strong winds showing up near that intersection of those roads we were just rattling off. So measure the wind speed, seeing some speeds there of 60 plus miles per hour. And I think the Weather Service noting what we're seeing, that rotation does appear to be strengthening as well. So we've got two strong areas of rotation on the board at least right now. That one that's a little bit north of Albany, and then you've got this other one in Tangipahoa Parish. Starting to see the wind surge out there near and north of Amite. So Amite, let's take a look. You guys may be getting in on kind of the tail end of some of the strong winds. The circulation is north of you, but we're still seeing strong winds rolling into Amite as well. We'll sample some of those for you. Yeah, so detecting 70 plus mile per hour winds. Radar is just downstream for you guys, just to your south, not far away. So pretty good chance that some of that's reaching the ground. But our area of circulation here is a little bit northeast of Amite, off to the east northeast of Roseland, right in there. So that's right along Highway 10, South River Road. That's east of 51 in Tangipahoa Parish. Let's sample some of these wind numbers because they look big. Yeah, 80+ mile per hour winds that are being detected by radar. So regardless of whether there's still an ongoing tornado here, those are going to be dangerous winds. Henry, were you about to say something?
Yes, we're Central, from Central Fire Department, most of Central is without power. Several trees are down. Not sure of the exact locations in Central, but most of Central is out of power. We're getting reports of power outages across the Baton Rouge area. Wind is picking up here, but there's a lot of power outages going on across the metro area with the wind. I know it's not tornadic. A lot of folks in the Baton Rouge area, Denham Springs, are concerned about tornadoes. This is mostly straight line winds with the strong thunderstorms, but that tornado or potential tornado still to your north and east. But power outages, unfortunately, those are becoming a thing right now.
Thank you, Henry. And yeah, just being told that in EBR, at least 7,100 customers without power. I was doing a live stream, 15 minutes ago before this, and that number I think was closer to 1,000. So 15,000, is that what you said? Okay, so we've got Entergy with 7,100 outages in EBR. Sorry, talking to our producers in the back. And Demco now with 15,000. So Demco does cover more of the northern part of EBR especially, and that's where we've seen some of the stronger winds roll on through. So in total, between Demco and Entergy, you're looking over 22,000 customers in EBR. That's a significant number. And in fact, let's do this real quick because I do want to come back to radar, but we can take a look at outages here briefly. There you go. And you see how EBR now stands out in yellow. The yellow on ours is between 10 and 25,000, which matches up with what we're reporting. But you can see the string of power outages that has occurred from southwest and central Louisiana, now for the parishes along in North I-10 and I-12 and extending up into southwest Mississippi. Certainly been a rough night, but you can't say that we didn't warn you. This was the concern that this could be rough. Well, Henry, it looks like we have a new radar-confirmed tornado. Do you see anything from the weather?
Yeah, we've got a new tornado warning. That's probably the one that's just coming out downstream from Roseland.
Okay, let's take a look at this. Does that say radar confirmed with it, Henry?
Yes, this is radar confirmed,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
so I think we're looking at this now. This is the new one. Let me get an expiration time. That's in effect through 9:15 from Tangipahoa into Washington Parish, and that's on the east side of Kentwood. Here's our area of rotation, though, so I'm going to zoom in close on that. Yet another radar-confirmed tornado at this hour. So that's right along Highway 1056, north of 1057. What is that? Looks like Glen Guy Road, maybe? Let me take a peek behind me. Yeah, Glen Guy. That's moving off to the east. Let's pull this over and sample some of these wind speeds, because again, boy, I'll pull out just a little bit. But boy, it looks like some really strong winds being detected with this one as well. And there you see it. Again, we're getting some winds of 70 to 80 plus mile per hour. Here's the rotation. Those are actually on the backside. So some of this is what we kind of call the rear inflow. But let me take a look at the debris detection now and see what we've got. The Weather Service must have seen enough on that one. And yeah, here we go. So we'll zoom in and I'll show you the same thing that we looked at earlier in terms of how you can. What you look for is the areas of rotation, the red and green in essence next to each other, to overlap with where we see some of these lighter shades. So I'll go ahead and circle it once again for you to show you the area I think we're going to be focusing in on, which would be right along 1056. That's debris detection. And now as we go to velocity, yep, so you can see how that lines up. You see how that's where we've got our red and green together, our rotation and debris showing up in the same area. So unfortunately, radar now showing a debris signature right along Highway 1056 here in Tangipahoa Parish, a little bit east of Kentwood. That is at least our second radar confirmed tornado of the night in southeast Louisiana. So things have really picked up here over the last hour or so, and just a big area of strong winds showing up. So you can see that tornado warning extends off to the east into Washington Parish, but that's the area you're going to be tracking. And I'll put a track. This is going to be mostly rural areas, I think, but I'll put a track on this one, assuming that it's moving at about the same pace of about 40 miles per hour, or get in here what I can. And yeah, not really pulling up communities because mostly rural, but that'll be headed into Washington Parish, so east of Kentwood and off into Washington Parish. Boy, lots of wind showing up here in Tangipahoa, east of Roseland, back towards Amite as well, and that's another area of rotation. That's our other tornado warning. That one's in effect until 9:30, so we still got nearly 40 minutes on that one. And then let me pull out, see what else we've got happening at this hour, because we were keeping an eye north of Albany, but you can see, I think, on the broader view, right? Your eyes are drawn to two primary areas. This one east of Kentwood, and then, boy, this looks strong here now. That's starting to look pretty strong. One just south of it. And then we have this third tornado warning that's northeastern Livingston in the parts of Tangipahoa. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way so we can get a better look. We'll come down here, but at least with this one, I'm not seeing anything obvious showing up. So yeah, so let's switch it over to the traditional radar view, just get a better perspective on the broad view of what's happening. So we still have a look of a little bit of an appendage maybe, you know, near Independence, headed into Tickfaw. But when I looked at the velocity, nothing jumping off the board with that. So let's hope that one at least is behaving a little bit. Here's our line of storms. Now impacting areas around Albany, Holden, Livingston, Walker, Denham Springs, down through Shenandoah and Baton Rouge, the city of St. George. You can see downtown Baton Rouge now kind of on the backside of it. And as we expand this, here's the rest of the line. You see how the line really gets a good bit weaker south of I-10 back towards Lafayette. There's some heavier rains, but it's not that same intensity in what we're tracking up here along and north of I-12 and crossing I-55 at this hour. So it looks like they've taken, now we're tracking maybe one radar confirmed tornado versus two. You see how the colors of the polygons differ a little bit? This is, I hate to say, a regular old tornado warning, a normal tornado warning. When it's flashing purple like this, that means a confirmed. And in this case, that was a radar confirmed. So it looks like at least maybe the Weather Service has taken confirmed off of the one that's east of Amite, but we certainly have the one that is east of Kentwood. Let's update the velocity view, see what we've got going on right now. And boy, even though this isn't radar confirmed, there's a big circulation here. That's a pretty big area that's being impacted. So if that circulation tightens back up just a little bit, that could easily drop a tornado again if one is not on the ground right now. Henry, I thought I heard you for a second, maybe not. Were you about to say something?
Yeah, there's nothing new from the Weather Service, and this tends to happen a lot because it is nighttime. Nobody can really see anything outside, and if there's any tornadoes, it's likely going to come from emergency management. But a lot of folks are asking about the wind and if there are warnings for their locations. As Steve is mentioning, he's mentioning I believe now only we're down to 3 tornado warnings, I believe, but those are where the tornado warnings and the rotations are being indicated. Elsewhere, if you're within the line of storms, it's likely straight line winds. The winds are howling, power outages are happening, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a tornado in your area. Baton Rouge, Denham Springs, Gonzales, Prairieville, surrounding areas, you are underneath that line of storms. But as Steve's been mentioning, we've got those 2 tornado warnings, 1 radar confirmed in Tangipahoa Parish. That's where the rotations are right now. So anyone who's concerned south and west of there, you're likely getting straight line winds. If that changes, Dr. Steve will definitely let you know, but rest assured we will let you know as soon as something pops.
Thank you, Henry. Good information there. And yeah, we're down to 2 tornado warnings now. Tangipahoa Parish into Washington, maybe a little bit in St. Tammany here as well. All right, we've got Titan 9 out tracking the storms tonight. Right now, it's Zachary headed in the direction of Central. Do we have somebody in Titan 9 we're speaking with? Okay, just a live look. All right, so yeah, Titan 9 out there, you know, we've had a lot of reports of power outages and some damage in northern parts of EBR, and that was probably, I'd have to go back and look the radar data. I'd say probably in the last 30 to 45 minutes, we had some pretty rough stuff rolling through there as well. So Titan 9 going to head that way and out towards Central. And you guys in the back told me, right, that Central reporting most of the city was without power? Yeah, so most of the city of Central without power, a number of downed trees via the Central Fire Department as well. Busy night for them. And quickly, a salute to all our first responders that have to work nights like this. Can't thank them enough, putting their lives at risk to handle situations like what we're dealing with tonight. So this is our primary two area concerns that we're dealing with right now. Tangipahoa Parish, where we still have 2 tornado warnings. We take a look at this once again. Now, and this one starting to cross into Washington Parish. That is the one that is radar confirmed, or at least was. Looks like probably down in this area, but let me take a look at the debris and see if we're seeing much in terms of the debris signature still showing up with this one. Maybe a faded signature showing up there. Doesn't look as strong of a signature as what we saw a little while ago. In fact, what I can do is back this up a little bit and loop it and just kind of focus here and watch. And it looks like they just put a new warning on that. So maybe what they're doing is dropping the radar confirmed and making that just a tornado warning. So let's see if we can pick out that. Boy, it's kind of hard to see. It comes so fast. But that, to me, appears to be the area we were tracking farther to the northwest that came in, and the signature may be dropping. This farther south, let's take a look here. That looks interesting. Let's see if we've gotten anything in terms of debris showing up here, or if that may just be something else. All right, let me switch this to the velocity view to see if there's rotation in that area where you see that circle of blue. Boy, it does look like there could be some rotation there. So let's back this out just a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes a radar confirmed tornado. I'll zoom back in, give you some road references on this. Again, we're getting into fairly rural areas. So that is just north of Highway 16. Looks like, what was that, Lowry Road? So we've got, let me circle it for you again and show you what I'm seeing. Hopefully it helps put the picture together. You see the red and green kind of next to each other, indicating the circulation. And then as we switch this over to debris, focus your eyes where we have it circled and look for that blue circle to see if it's in the same general area. All right, let me come over to the debris. Got to push a lot of buttons. So yeah, that unfortunately to me certainly looks like a significant debris signature showing up just, let me turn that off, just east of Lowry Road. And now we got a new scan in. May have weakened a bit already, but you know, back that up a scan or two, that looked like a significant debris signature. There you see it. That sure looks like, watch right in there. So that was crossing just east, coming across maybe parts of Lowry Road. It was headed up towards Dummy Line Road, but in that area, that certainly looks like that was potentially a debris signature for a little while as well. May have dropped out now, but boy, it's been active. All right, getting some more information here.
And Steve, we got information from Point Capee Sheriff. This is from the Point Capee Sheriff Office. Unfortunately, reports of 3 trees down across highways, not sure which highways, but 3 trees down, 2 trees with power lines on them. Main transmitting line has fallen, and that's the main transmitting line for Point Capee Electric. There's also widespread power outages with energy as well. The Point Capee Sheriff is asking that everyone please stay off the roads while they try to work to get power restored. They don't know if there's any additional damage because it's nighttime and it's difficult to see. But Point Capee Sheriff just asking that everyone stay off the roads because there are down trees, down power lines, and things will hopefully get better once this line pushes out of here.
All right, thank you, Henry. Yeah, and that's what Greg Merriweather just handed me, the same bit of information. I think the headline there is the main transmission line for Point Coupee apparently taken down tonight. That could certainly be a big deal, and that, you know, I hate to speculate too much on power outages, but when you hear about a main transmission line going down, that could mean maybe some extended power outages, not the type that could get fixed in short order tonight. So certainly a significant concern there. So quite a number of power outages. Now, if there's any good news in Point Coupee, still raining, that's not good news, but the severe weather threat is over for you guys. You've still got some moderate rains in the area, but once basically this line is past your location, the severe weather threat has come to an end. So here in Baton Rouge shortly, it looks like we'll be sounding the all clear, keeping an eye on these cells down around Lafayette just to make sure they don't intensify. I don't think those will get too terribly strong. This appears to be the main action from near Denham Springs on the east side of Baton Rouge, extending right up across I-55 and up into southwest Mississippi. So we do have a confirmed tornado. I see flashing here in northern Tangipahoa Parish.
And that one's, I believe, near Ranger.
Yeah, so near Loranger, Henry's. Yeah, so let's give you a look at this confirmed tornado. So Franklinton.
And one other thing, Steve, check closer to the Hammond radar. We're starting to get wrapping down there as well, near the radar.
Okay, so we'll take a look at this and then we'll head down towards Hammond. So yeah, maybe in here, let's go in a little bit closer. Come on, computer. Yeah, it looks like we've got some rotation down in here. Let me switch over to the debris and see what we've got, if anything. The Weather Service had certainly confirmed something here. Nothing in that general area, but they certainly saw enough to confirm something. Okay, and let's take a look down towards Hammond real quick, since Henry was mentioning that before we potentially wrap up our coverage, as a lot of these storms start to move on out. It does look like we've now got a new tornado warning, in fact, in Hammond. Is that right, Henry?
Yes, just issued radar. It's radar indicated.
So tornado warning now in effect. Tangipahoa Parish centered on Hammond. That goes through Robert, a little bit north of Ponchatoula, and extending down to the east into parts of western St. Tammany Parish. So that's in effect through 9:45. So let's come in on that. Now, one thing to keep in mind, when there is such a thing as storms being too close to radar. We have what we call a cone of silence. Basically, since the radar beam goes out kind of horizontal, I can't see what's almost directly above it very well. So that could be an issue as this moves into Hammond. But let's take a look and see if we can pick out what the Weather Service is seeing. Yeah, you can see how the picture is getting muddy. That's what happens when you get real close to the radar. I'll switch it to the velocity view just to see if we've got anything that jumps out in terms of rotation. And it's not obvious here. One more thing I can take a look at. Let's try the radar in Mobile just to see. It's a little bit distant, but let's see what we can get out of this one, the radar out of Mobile, Alabama. Probably a little too far away to get much of a look at that. But regardless, the Weather Service has seen enough to issue a tornado warning for Hammond now. So you can see that cell, and that appears to be moving right on through Hammond at this hour. So if you're in and around Hammond, please take shelter right now. Interior room, get away from the exterior walls, closet, bathroom, so in that general area. But you can see, here's our cone of silence around. You see, that's why it's called the cone of silence. You can't see overhead. And also when the storm's on top of you, even what's out ahead of you a little bit, it just gets real hard to get a good picture. That's a little bit of a weakness. There is one, now I'm remembering, one other radar we can take a peek at. Let's take a look at the MSY terminal Doppler radar. So first we'll start with the traditional view, and now let's take a look at the velocity. All right, so we start to get a little better look from the, so this is what we call the terminal Doppler radar. This is basically, the terminal Doppler radars are mostly to serve airports. The terminal Doppler for MSY Louis Armstrong Airport is in St. Charles Parish, just west of the airport. So for this one, it's not jumping off the board, but maybe in this general area now on the east side of Hammond, maybe some rotation that's moving to the east-southeast. So that would be our potential problem area. That tornado warning is in effect until 9:45. All right, I think we're going to wrap up here in a second. I do want to give you one more look at the broad view before we do. And Henry, just let me know if you see anything else before we do. So we have, it looks like a pair of tornado warnings in eastern Tangipahoa. Those will be moving into Washington, St. Tammany parishes. We do have that one near Hammond as well. Still strong storms into Livingston. And then the line, it's almost, it's like a dividing line, I-12. As you get south of I-12, the line, the intensity really drops off. I think from Metro Baton Rouge westward, we can pretty much sound the clear on the severe weather threat. It's mostly, say, Livingston Parish eastward, but if you're south of I-10, keep an eye out because the southern part of the line could still intensify a bit as it moves off to the east, even though it doesn't look too bad right now. And I'll just put it in motion for you. You can see all the warnings that have been popping up. All right. Hope everybody's been staying safe tonight. Thanks for staying with us for coverage. We're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to keep an eye on things. This is a live look from Titan 9. As we told you, it was making its way from Zachary over to Central. Check out some of the damage in the central area where we hear there are widespread power outages and a number of trees down. It's been a rough night up that way. So please do stay safe tonight. If you are without power, if you have storm damage, be careful in the cleanup. Injuries happen then as well. We'll break back in if necessary. Otherwise, we'll see you back here for 9 News at 10.